Okay, so go get a snack or something, prepare yourself because this is gonna be a very long video. Probably, most likely, definitely the longest video I've ever made on my channel. Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about Miley Cyrus. So back in the late 2000s, Miley Cyrus was the most popular teenager in the world. For a good 4 or so years, Miley was running things. And it was all thanks to Brand Montana. In one of my more recent videos, I talked about Brand Rihanna and how amazing it was that Rihanna's team was able to have Rihanna release a new musical project back to back to back to back to back for 8 years in a row. Back to back to back. It was just spectacular. And Brand Rihanna is incredible, but Brand Montana, oh my goodness. So Brand Montana, of course, starts with Hannah Montana, the TV show. So Hannah Montana premiered on March 24th, 2006. And we all know it was about an ordinary girl named Miley Stewart, played by Miley Cyrus, who is an ordinary girl by day and a pop superstar named Hannah Montana by night. So the show was an instant smash hit and it garnered over 5 million viewers in its premiere episode. It even managed to get a crossover in its 12th episode, which is like, what? The show's only had 11 episodes to be itself, and now it's already having a crossover with other shows. So That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana premiered on July 29th, 2006, and that garnered 7.1 million viewers. So Hannah Montana, of course, is this big hit for the Disney Channel. So what do they start doing? They start having Miley Cyrus as Hannah Montana perform at real life venues and try to promote the TV show even further. So Miley as Hannah Montana was the opening act for the Cheetah Girls during The Party's Just Begun tour in late 2006. So, Miley's out there dressed up as Hannah Montana, and everywhere she goes, she has to dress up as Hannah because even though the show Hannah Montana is still a big hit, Miley is not that well known yet. Everybody knows Hannah, but they don't really know much about Miley. And evidently, people at the time didn't even know how to pronounce her last name.
Miley Cyrus.
Which is confusing to me because, Miley's father in real life, Billy Ray Cyrus, is a famous person. He had a big hit in the 90s. But I think because he was just a one-hit wonder, maybe that's why people don't remember him as much. Until Hannah Montana happened and then Old Town Road later on, but we'll get there. Okay, so yeah, overall season 1 was very simple, and this is just my opinion, but I really like watching the first season of shows that become really, really successful during their second or third seasons. I really like watching the first season just to see how simple it is and how easygoing everything is before all the popularity and mania came, before all that happened, just to see where they started and how young they look. Oh my goodness. And that's something I noticed about a lot of shows, especially season 1 of Hannah Montana, and knowing how popular the show would be later on. Season 1 gave this vibe of they really had no idea that the show was going to be so massive, as massive as it was. They just thought they were making a silly Disney show. And that's the vibe that season 1 gives. It was very simple and easygoing. And the only noticeable spectacular thing that happened during season 1, besides the crossover, the really, really early crossover, was the season 1 soundtrack. So Hannah Montana, the soundtrack, it was a huge commercial success. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 charts. And that's not these little kiddie charts or anything. This is the official albums charts where professional musicians chart. So it debuted at #1, selling 281,000 copies in its first week. And it even stayed at #1 for its second week. And then that album would go on to be one of the best-selling albums of 2006 and 7. Okay, so now we move on to season 2 of Hannah Montana. So season 2, now that we know in retrospect, is by many different measures, the best season of Hannah Montana. That's when the show really started to take off. It broke its own records. They had the 2-part special, Achy Jakey Heart, in June, which scored over 7.4 million viewers. And then in July, the Hannah Montana 2 Meet Miley Cyrus soundtrack was released, with the first half corresponding to the second season of Hannah Montana. And the second part is comprising of Miley Cyrus's debut album. And it was a double disc album, so they're conjoined. And they both debuted at number 1, selling 326,000 copies in its first week, which broke the record that the first Hannah Montana album set. And then in August, the Jonas Brothers episode of Hannah Montana premiered, and it garnered over 10.7 million viewers, and it is to this day the most viewed episode of Hannah Montana ever. And that's partly because before this episode was the High School Musical 2 premiere, which garnered over 17 million viewers and is the most watched Disney Channel original movie of all time. So that's probably part of the reason why it was so big. But also just because Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers, huge. So because of this success of the episode and the show in general, and the show's music, remember, it's a brand, it branches out into all these different avenues. In October 2007, Miley Cyrus, at the age of 14, debuted on her headlining world tour, the Best of Both Worlds tour. So the concept for the tour is that the first half is just Hannah Montana performing hits from season 1 and season 2. And then the second half is Miley Cyrus singing her songs from her debut album. So the tour was, of course, another gigantic success, raking in over $70 million. And during this time, Miley Cyrus would start to release some singles from her debut album. She released See You Again, and she also released Start All Over. See You Again didn't get a music video, but Start All Over did. It's just a one-shot video of her like waking up, and then she's in the street and dancing, and it's just, there's a bus, and it's all fun. It's a cool concept. And then in January, Miley Cyrus legally changed her name from Destiny Hope Cyrus, which is her birth name, to Miley Ray Cyrus, which is the name that she's always gone by as a child. Like, even her parents never really called her Destiny Hope. And part of the reason Miley Cyrus changed this, I'll talk about this later on, but there's a bigger reason as to why Miley Cyrus changed her name. So in February, there was a concert film of the Hannah Montana Best of Both Worlds tour, and the concert film was released on February 1st, Super Bowl weekend, and it garnered over $31 million opening weekend. And it's still to this day the most successful film to open during Super Bowl weekend. And this concert film also has a live album that was produced for it, and the live album ended up debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 charts. And this concert film also set box office records because it is best-selling concert film of all time at the time. It sold over $70 million worldwide, but this record was later beaten by the king of pop, Michael Jackson, in 2009, 1 year later, when he sold over $261 million worldwide for his This Is It concert film. And you know, that makes sense because Michael Jackson is like the most successful entertainer of all time. Nobody's gonna beat him. But both Miley and Michael were both beaten by somebody who I will get to later. And then also in February, Miley Cyrus attended the Grammys for the first time. And this is when her infamous like eyeshadow look went viral. You know that meme? That's where that stems from. Okay, so in April, Miley Cyrus attended American Idol's benefit concert where she performed 2 songs from her debut album, Meet Miley Cyrus. She performed Good and Broken and See You Again. This is actually my favorite performance of See You Again by Miley Cyrus ever. And she also did probably my favorite performance of Good and Broken. Those are very good performances. She was really on top that day. And then her and the guy from Monsters, Inc., you know, Mike Wazowski, the guy that plays Mike Wazowski, they did like this funny skit before Miley performed where like the guy acted like he had no idea who Miley Cyrus was and thought she was like this amateur singer, and it was hilarious. You should watch it. I'll link it. Okay, so around this time was also when the Annie Leibovitz controversy happened with Miley Cyrus. So Miley Cyrus took part in a photo shoot with renowned photographer Annie Leibovitz. And part of the idea for the photo shoot, one was to have Miley Cyrus lay in her father's lap. And then the other one was to have Miley Cyrus, like, she has no top on and she just like covered in a blanket like this. Like the blanket's all over covering the front and her back is exposed. And that image, the second one in particular, with the back exposed, that one garnered a lot of media attention in a negative way. And it was a whole bunch of controversy. And I think Disney even made Miley Cyrus put out a statement, or Miley Cyrus put one out herself. But anyways, there was huge backlash. And it was the first time that the Hannah Montana brand had experienced any sort of like backlash. But fortunately enough, it was not enough of a backlash to destroy the Hannah Montana brand. It was too strong, especially in this year, 2008. Nothing could destroy it. Okay, so in April, Hannah Montana the movie began filming. It filmed from April to July, and during this time, Miley Cyrus's single "See You Again," it peaks at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, like the official songs charts, the ones where like actual musicians chart on. And this is a really big deal. Like, it's a big deal in general, but it's also a big deal for the Hannah Montana brand in particular because they had multiple number one albums, but they never had any songs that were even in the top 10. And this was the first of it. The closest that they got to a song in the top 10 was in July 2007 when Life's What You Make It debuted at number 25. Life's what you make it, so let's make it rock. Miley Cyrus released 7 Things, the lead single from her new album Breakout. The single peaked at number 9 in July, and this topped Miley Cyrus's own record that she just set a few months ago with See You Again. And now 7 Things was Miley Cyrus's highest charting song on the Billboard Hot 100. And then also around this time, Breakout debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 charts, selling over 370,000 copies first week. And this is the highest debut for any Miley or Hannah Montana album, Breakout. Okay, and then on Disney Channel, the Best of Both Worlds concert film, if you were not able to see it in theaters, because that's where it was released initially, like they had to extend it. Like they only wanted the theater release to be 7 days, but they extended it for over a year just because of how popular Hannah Montana was. But if you were unable to see the actual concert film in theaters, on Disney Channel, they released the concert film free to watch on Disney Channel, and 5.9 million people tuned in. Although on Wikipedia it says 20.6 million. I'm not sure how accurate that number is, but if it is accurate, it makes sense, considering how popular the show was at the time. Also in July, Miley Cyrus attended the Disney Channel Games, which is basically a competition game amongst different Disney stars at the time. Miley didn't participate in any of the games. She was just there to like perform and like hand the trophy to the winner. Because she's like, I'm too good for this. I'm Hannah Montana. No, I'm Miley Cyrus. Wait, we'll get there yet. Okay, and then in August, season 3 of Hannah Montana began filming. And then in September, Miley Cyrus attended the 2008 Video Music Awards. And she was actually nominated for Best New Artist up against real musicians at the time. Who else would have been nominated for Best New Artist? Probably like Katy Perry at the time. So that's the kind of people she's up against. And she ultimately lost against a German band called Tokyo Hotel. But it's alright. We got Brand Montana, so we win in at life. Okay, in November, the season 2 finale of Hannah Montana was supposed to air in the US. However, some parents watched the video on demand before the episode was supposed to air. And the episode was talking about diabetes, but the way that the episode was written, it was horribly misinformed. So Disney Channel like decided to take down that episode. The rest of the world watched that diabetes episode on November 2nd, where like the horribly misinformed one. But the United States, us, we got to see Hannah Montana season 3. And I know I said season 2 is the best season of Hannah Montana, because it is. However, season 3 is my favorite. It always has been, it always will be. Just like the way that they revamped the show, revamped the theme song, everything was like upgraded. Even the way that the kids looked, like the kids hit puberty so hard in season 3. Most likely it's because they took a year off in between filming. Like they filmed season 1 and season 2 back to back. There was a year-long break between season 2 and season 3. But anyways, they hit puberty in season 3. They hit it hard. And this is the thing I noticed about a lot of kids shows, especially at the time. Like during the 3rd season, all the characters hit puberty so hard. Like Wizards Waverly Place. So, Hannah Montana, of course, I just said it. That's So Raven. Good Luck Charlie. Yeah. iCarly, the real season 3, not the fake season 3. The real season 3 is the one with I Got a Hot Room, I Start a Fan War, I Do, where the wedding episode where Carly sings Shakespeare, I Party with Victorious. That's the real season 3 of iCarly, not the season 3 where they go to space and Nora kidnaps them and Freddie kisses Carly. That's the fake season 3 in my head. Or that's season 2, part 2. But anyways, that's a different discussion. So season 3 happened. And then also around this time, the animated movie Bolt was released. And Miley Cyrus lent her voice to one of the characters. It's about a dog named Bolt. And Miley plays the voice of Bolt's owner, the little girl. I think her name is Penny. Didn't she get burnt or something? Like there was a horrible accident and she burnt her face and had to get a new one. That was sad. But something good that resulted out of this movie was the soundtrack. The song I Thought I Lost You with her and John Travolta singing together. That song is so beautiful. Hey, I thought I lost you and you ran away to try to find me. I loved it. The song was also nominated for a Golden Globe, and the movie garnered over $310 million worldwide. So even more money for Brand Montana. Oh my goodness. And then at the 2008 American Music Awards, Miley Cyrus performed Fly on the Wall, which is my favorite single from Breakout. This is also my favorite performance of that song. And it was also on her 16th birthday. Right before she performed, Miley Cyrus's dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, he gave a little speech talking about how proud he is of Miley and how it's her 16th birthday and everybody should clap and love her. And that's what everybody did, because that's back when everybody used to love Miley. So yeah, that was her actual 16th birthday, but she did have her 16th birthday party a month before at Disney World or Disneyland. But I'm pretty sure it was Disney World, and a whole bunch of people came, even Tyra Banks, who was also in the Hannah Montana movie, so that's why she was there. So by the end of 2008, Miley Cyrus was, without a doubt, the biggest teenager in the world. However, towards the very, very end of 2008, in November, something happened. Of course, we had the first Black president of the United States being elected. That's history in the making right there. But also something else happened that posed to be somewhat of a threat to the Hannah Montana brand. And that something is Miss Taylor Swift. So I'm making this video in 2023, and we already know that Taylor Swift has been famous for like 15, 16, 17 years now. She's had a very, very long career. Her career actually started the same year that Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana career started. 2006 is when both of them debuted. And at this point in time, 2008, late 2008, Taylor Swift released her second album, Fearless, which would prove to be her breakthrough album, her breakthrough into mainstream media, with songs like Love Story and You Belong With Me. And Fearless debuted at #1 with 592,000 copies being sold. And having huge album numbers has always been Taylor Swift's thing. Like Rihanna's thing is big singles, but Taylor Swift's thing is big albums. And that's also the brand Montana's thing. Hannah Montana's thing is big albums. And Taylor Swift was the only person who proved to be a threat to that, because Fearless was the #1 album of 2009. So yeah, by the end of 2008, Taylor Swift was here, and she was about to be a threat to Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, for being the most popular teenager in the world. So Disney Channel, Brand Montana, they knew they had to step it up or Taylor Swift was gonna wipe them out of here. So what did they do? They released The Climb. So this part is like the most inspiring part to me. This is part of the reason why I love Brand Montana so much. On January 19th, at the Kids' inaugural We Are the Future event, which was celebrating the election and inauguration of Barack Obama, Miley Cyrus performed The Climb for the very first time. And it was, of course, well received by critics and audiences. Everybody loved that song. And it was the first ever song released by Brand Montana. You know, that includes all of Hannah Montana's songs and all of Miley Cyrus's songs. Like, it's a whole conjoined thing. It was the first ever song that appealed to both adults and children, and like everybody could listen to it. And we all know this in retrospect. Of course, it stood the test of time, but it's like one of the best songs I've ever heard in my entire life. It's still sung to this day at high school graduations, weddings, funerals, I'm guessing. But it actually is a good funeral song. Not to make you sad, but a girl sang this at my high school graduation. I actually knew her. She was my classmate, and she was also my friend's cousin. Yeah, my good friend's cousin. The song was also nominated for an Oscar before being rejected because it was in the category of song written for a movie, and the song was featured in Hannah Montana the movie, but the song was not originally meant to be in Hannah Montana the movie. That's why it sounds like that, and that's why it was also removed. Sad. It definitely would have won though, making Brand Montana even that much bigger of a deal. Anyways, do you know how many contestants like sang this on The Voice or American Idol? It was on Glee. This song was everywhere, and it even peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, beating anything Miley Cyrus had done before, again breaking the record for the highest charting Brand Montana song. And it's also the song that was the catalyst for Miley Cyrus's solo career, because that's the first time that people took her seriously as an artist. So I have so much respect and love for The Climb. On February 8th, 2009, at the 2009 Grammys, which was a horrible day for Rihanna, we won't talk about that, but it was a very good day for Miley and Taylor. Miley and Taylor, they sang a duet. They sang Taylor Swift's song 15, which was very funny when I watch it because the song is about being 15 years old, but Miley Cyrus was 16 when she sang it with Taylor, and Taylor Swift was 19. So, who's 15 here? Maybe Taylor wrote it when she was 15, but anyways, it was funny. And then in March, The Climb was released as the lead single for the soundtrack of Hannah Montana, the movie. The movie premiered in April. It garnered over $32 million opening weekend, beating the opening weekend for the Best of Both Worlds concert film. So Brand Montana is again topping itself. And Hannah Montana the movie went on to sell over $155 million worldwide. And then the soundtrack album for Hannah Montana the movie, it debuted at number 2, selling 139,000 copies first week. And after 4 months, it eventually peaked at number 1. So there's another number 1 album for Brand Montana. And the movie, I love Hannah Montana the movie, but the thing that I love the most is like its secret message. Like, it has Taylor Swift in the movie singing her own song, and Taylor Swift was involved in it and writing some songs, and she was involved in the soundtrack. And something I like about that is the fact that like Taylor Swift easily could have been this threat for Miley's and Brand Montana, but the message of this movie is saying like, hey, Taylor is great, you know, she's awesome, we love her, we love working with her, but Miley's also great. We're both great. We're allowed to coexist. So that let like fans and audiences be like, oh wait, I don't have to just choose one country girl to stan. I can like both Miley and Taylor. I can like them both. I'm allowed to like them both. So, which is the truth. You're allowed to like them both. So that's what people took away from that. So for the rest of the year, while Taylor was like going on and becoming even bigger of a star, you know, that Kanye West incident at the 2009 VMAs, and then Fearless being so successful, You Belong With Me, yada, yada, yada. Miley was also being successful and growing as an artist in her own right. So they were both allowed to coexist because of like their friendship and the collaborations between them, and Taylor being involved in the movie, Miley being involved in Taylor's song. So they're allowed to coexist, and they sent this message to the audience that we're allowed to coexist. And I loved it. Girl power. Girls supporting girls. We love it. Okay, in July, they released the soundtrack for Hannah Montana 3, and it debuted at number 2, selling 137,000 copies in its first week, proving once again Brand Montana is still very strong. And then on July 5th, the hour-long special He Could Be the One was released, and It was one of the best episodes of Hannah Montana. It garnered over 7.9 million viewers. Later that month, the song He Could Be the One, which was featured in this episode, it peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, which was the first time a Hannah Montana song peaked in the top 10. Because at this point, several Miley Cyrus songs peaked in the top 10. See You Again, Seven Things, The Climb. The last Hannah Montana song to peak that high was, like I said, Life Is What You Make It, 2 years earlier, and that peaked at number 25. So He Could Be the One in the top 10. Brand Montana is even stronger. And then on July 17th, they aired the crossover Wizards on Deck with Hannah Montana, which garnered over 9.3 million viewers. Oh my goodness. And then in August, while Miley Cyrus was in Georgia filming the last song with her future husband, Liam Hemsworth, Miley Cyrus released Party in the USA. So I said that The Climb was the song that made people take Miley Cyrus seriously. It was her first big mainstream hit. But Party in the USA single-handedly blew everything Miley Cyrus had done before out of the water. Party in the USA is to this day Miley Cyrus's best-selling song. It's gone over 12 times platinum. It's the moment where she became like a true mainstream pop star, right alongside Katy Perry, Rihanna, Taylor Swift. Like she was in that league now. And then later on, she performed at the Teen Choice Awards. And this is where the infamous like dancing on a pole, like the ice cream cart pole thing went viral. And it stirred up a lot of controversy for Miley, who like everybody was claiming that she was pole dancing, and the parents were upset yet again. Another controversy that could have destroyed Brand Montana. But again, because Brand Montana is so strong, it was able to withstand that. And then in late August, Miley Cyrus released her first ever EP, The Time of Our Lives, which was intended to go along with Miley Cyrus's clothing brand. The EP debuted at number 3, selling 62 copies first week, which is very underwhelming for a Brand Montana project. But then once Party in the USA started to like catch on, The Time of Our Lives EP went to number 2, selling 153,000 copies that week. Oh, the EP also features the song When I Look at You, which is from the last song, The Movie. And I feel like When I Look at You is like an older version of The Climb, like The Climb's older sister, but it doesn't get as much recognition. Okay, then in September, Miley Cyrus embarked on the Wonder World Tour. This tour, in my opinion, had a lot more spectacle than her last tour that she went on 2 years before. Miley Cyrus was on a motorcycle flying through the sky like she was Pink. Pink does acrobatics in the sky. Miley Cyrus was just riding around on a motorcycle singing I Love Rock and Roll. And she was just more in control and grown, and she really found her voice, and she sounded so much better than how she did in the Best of Both Worlds tour. Not that she sounded bad back then, she sounded good, but she just sounds so much more mature and in control of her vocals during the Wonderworld tour. And this is the first ever tour that like is just Miley. It's not associated with Hannah, and it still went phenomenally well. She did perform 2 songs from Brand Montana. She performed 2 songs from Hannah Montana the movie. Well, 3 songs from Hannah Montana the movie. She performed The Hoedown Throwdown. She performed Spotlight, and she performed Let's Get Crazy. And the whole tour garnered $67 million, which is a little less than how much the Best of Both Worlds tour garnered, 70 million, I think. But during this tour, Miley actually got to keep the money. This goes back to what I said about Miley changing her name. Back when she was on the Best of Both Worlds tour, she still had the legal name of Destiny Hope Cyrus. So while the tour was saying Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus Best of Both Worlds tour, Disney at that time owned the name Miley Cyrus. So all the money that was going to Miley Cyrus, the name Miley Cyrus, went to Disney. So Miley changed her name to Miley Cyrus. So during this Wonderworld tour, all the money that went to Miley Cyrus's name actually went to the real Miley Cyrus and not some corporation. So yeah, $15 million is how much she got to keep from this one tour. So yeah, 2009 is the year that Brand Montana definitely reached its peak. I know before I made a video about how 2007 was Hannah Montana's best year. And while that may be true, like I still stand behind that, That is true for the TV show Hannah Montana, but for Brand Montana, like the whole collection, like movies, TV shows, dolls and accessories, books. Oh yeah, Miley Cyrus also released a book in 2009, Miles to Go. That went well, #1 bestseller. But yeah, for Brand Montana, the best year was 2009, clearly. It was when Hannah Montana was like already a $1 billion machine, and Miley Cyrus was mainstream. The TV show had succeeded in what it wanted to do, which was create a star, but also rake in tons of cash, and they succeeded on both fronts, which is why what happened next was so sad. So 2010 is the year that the Hannah Montana brand was like downhill. Everything was just going downhill. So there's 3 reasons why the Hannah Montana brand went downhill. The first is that Miley Cyrus was growing up and trying to grow away from Disney. And the second is that Disney did not want Miley Cyrus to grow up and grow away from Disney. They wanted her forever, which is very unrealistic, especially at this point, now that Miley Cyrus is already bigger than Hannah Montana. So in May, Miley Cyrus released her music video and her single, Can't Be Tamed, and it was met with a lot of controversy. However, unlike the previous controversies where Miley Cyrus was able to bounce back unscathed, Can't Be Tamed left a mark. A lot of people did not like it, and the song, like, it peaked in the top 10, but then after that, it just like kind of went away, and a lot of people just forgot about it. In June, Miley Cyrus released her Can't Be Tamed album, which is a personal favorite of mine. This is like top 2 Miley Cyrus albums, in my opinion. I love it. And it debuted at #3, selling 102,000 copies, which is still very successful because Miley is very popular. But with critical reviews and everything, people, again, they just did not like it. I read that her music at this time was being banned because Disney was like really against her, like the whole Can't Be Tamed thing, like I want to grow up, I want to get away. Like Disney was very against that, so they like banned a lot of her songs, so they didn't get much radio play, which is why she only released 2 singles from this album. Her second single, Who Owns My Heart, which is again top 10, amazing, was not even released in the United States. It was only released in Germany. Why does Germany get such perfection and we don't even get? That was so unfair. Miley Cyrus did perform Can't Be Tamed at Britain's Got Talent. That's my favorite performance of Can't Be Tamed. That was like literally the only good thing that happened in 2010. Oh, the movie, the last song, was also released during the spring, and again, critics did not like it as much, and it also was not as successful as Hannah Montana the movie, like in terms of critical success or commercial success, because it didn't garner as much money. And then also during this year, 2010, Miley Cyrus was caught SMOKING from a BONG. I like to spell out words so that I don't get like demonetized or something. So, but anyway, she was caught doing something bad on camera. And again, controversy. She was not able to bounce back from that as easily as the other stuff. And in 2010, Hannah Montana was preparing to like wind down. In March, they aired their 2-part season 3 finale. The first part garnered 7 million viewers. The second part garnered 7.6 million viewers. And this is where a lot of people thought that the show was over. Like season 3 was the end of the show and it was the finale and everybody was sad and crying thinking the show was over. But Hannah Montana Forever happened. So it's no secret, I don't really like Hannah Montana Forever. It's not my favorite season of the show. Actually, it's my least favorite season of the show. My favorite seasons, personally, is season 3, and then season 2, and then season 1, and then season 4. So season 4, like you could just tell Miley was out of it. The show was really, really stale and it just should have not happened. And it also wasn't necessary because at this point of the time, Party in the USA happened. Miley was already huge. She didn't need Hannah Montana anymore. Like the show did its job. Yeah, Hannah Montana Forever, the only reason that season exists is because of like corporate greed, like wanting more money from like a brand that's already like towards its end. And the season did bring in strong ratings. The episode where Miley showed the whole world that she was Hannah, it garnered over 7.1 million viewers. And that's pretty successful. The show was still successful. However, outside of the show, things were not looking good. The Hannah Montana Forever soundtrack, the last project ever released from Brand Montana, it debuted at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. It debuted at number 11, selling 28,000 copies first week. And this is the lowest that anything from Hannah Montana has ever sold. 28,000 copies, number 11 from Brand Montana, which was selling like hundreds of thousands of copies and constantly debuting at number 1, like within the top three spots. So yeah, Hannah Montana Forever was a success with the TV show. Like the ratings were high. Like actually, the ratings for the TV show got higher and higher with each season, like the average. However, outside of the TV show, Brand Montana was falling apart. But it makes sense that like everything else would fall apart before the actual TV show, because the show started everything, and then you branch out to all these other avenues, and then once all these other avenues like start failing, then you come back to the show. So that makes sense. Overall, 2010 was not a very good year for Brand Montana. Everything was just falling apart. And it was very weird to see, because since 2006, it was this constant uphill like path since 2006 till 2009 when it reached its peak, and then 2010 happened, boom. Like what? So yeah, those are two reasons why 2010 was a very, very bad year for Brand Montana. But the third and final reason why 2010 was such a terrible year for Brand Montana is because of Justin Bieber. 2010 was Justin Bieber's mainstream success year, his breakthrough year in the entertainment industry, in the music industry. He released Baby. That song was the most viewed thing on YouTube for the next 2.5 years. So yeah, he was a very, very big deal, having his breakthrough success moment in the year 2010. Now, his success was very similar to Taylor Swift's success. Like, Taylor performed at Madison Square Garden in August 2009 and sold out instantly. Exactly a year later, Justin Bieber did the exact same thing. So both Miley, Taylor, and Justin, they're all like really, really successful, really, really popular. But the reason why Miley and Taylor were able to coexist and not pose a threat to each other, but Justin completely like destroyed Miley, is because of two things. One, Justin Bieber is younger than Miley Cyrus. So Miley Cyrus was trying to grow up and become more of an adult. Justin Bieber was 16, still singing Baby, and like a lot of Miley's fans like transitioned away from her and to him. Whereas with Taylor and Miley is 3 years younger than Taylor Swift, so that never could have happened. And also, the whole appeal of Hannah Montana is that like the target audience, young girls and gays, like look up to Miley and want to be her, want to be like her, want to live her life. But the whole appeal of Justin Bieber was like young girls and gays, they love him, they want to be with him, they want to be dating him because he's like this heartthrob. And that's always gonna like sell more than like your idol who you want to look up to and be best friends with. Who are you like more likely to run to buy tickets for? Somebody you want to like be best friends with, or somebody you want to like be with, you know? So anyways, in 2010, Justin Bieber was like getting big and big and big and demolishing everything. And also another reason why he was able to get so much bigger than Miley and everything is because unlike Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus, who are created like through pretty traditional ways, like Miley Cyrus got her rise through the Disney Corporation, and Taylor Swift got her rise through a proper record label and everything. Justin Bieber was created by the internet, and the internet is so powerful. It has the power to trump anything. Like, why do you think nobody watches cable anymore? Because of what? The internet. What are you watching right now? You're watching me on YouTube, which is on what? The internet. And this fact still holds up true to this day, because what's the longest running #1 single of all time? Old Town Road. And how did that song get so big? Because of the internet. So that's where the whole Billy Ray Cyrus thing comes in, because he hopped on the remix. So yeah, that's part of the reason why Bieber fever like completely destroyed Brand Montana. So yeah, 2010, everything just like collapsed. And then in January 2011, Hannah Montana aired its final episode, which garnered over 6.2 million viewers. And then Miley remained relatively low-key for the next 2 years. She didn't do much. She did go on the Gypsy Heart tour in 2011 in support of the Can't Be Tamed album, and it was a flop. It didn't really do well. It was cut short too. But in 2013, Miley Cyrus reinvented herself during the Bangers era, and she released We Can't Stop and, did the infamous performance at the 2013 VMAs. And then she released Wrecking Ball, and ever since then, Miley Cyrus has just become like such a huge pop star. And everything that she did during the Bangers era managed to top everything she's did before then with Brand Montana. And then for a long time, Miley Cyrus was unable to top the Bangers era. But then in 2023, with her new album that she just released, she was able to top the charts again and top herself even more. So yeah, the moral of this video is that Miley Cyrus, I love her, and she's able to constantly top herself. It may take a while, but she will top herself every time in terms of quality, commercial success. Right now, she's on top of the world with Flowers and everything. And all of that is because of her success that she experienced before with her previous eras, specifically the Bangers era. And that success can be attributed to the success that she experienced beforehand with like Party in the USA and The Climb and all that stuff. And that success can be contributed to all of her previous albums and the Hannah Montana albums. And all of that success can be attributed to the TV show Hannah Montana, which started everything and then later evolved into Brand Montana. So yeah, that's my video. I talked a lot because I had a lot of points that I needed to hit. I had over 60 different points that I needed to hit for this video, and I got them all. Brand Montana is an excellent thing. Having such a strong brand that can branch out and experience success in so many different avenues like that is amazing. And it was just such a miracle to see, and it's so inspiring for me just seeing how big of a brand that was. That is definitely a billion-dollar brand. Maybe multi-billion-dollar, but woo, they must have made so much money. Anyways, thank you for enjoying this video. I hope you liked it. And tell me your opinions down below. Anyways, that is it for today. See you another day. Bye.